The Borg are Star Trek's scariest villain, and much of that horror and terror comes from the fact that we actually know very little about where the Borg come from. At least, not in an official capacity from the shows or movies. But there have been several Borg origins postulated by different parts of Star Trek's beta canon. So let's get assimilated to uncover the Borg's potential origins. The first example of the Borg's origin comes from the video game Star Trek Legacy, which honestly was an okay video game, but it had all the captain's voices in it, so that's cool. In the game, we learned that an Earth space probe called Voyager 6 got lost in a black hole and was sent back hundreds of years to the Delta Quadrant, where it was discovered by a race of living machines who quickly altered the probe and sent it back to Earth, giving it the objective to find its creator. Yet, after years without being able to find its creators, the probe, now called Voyager, decided all carbon-based life was an infestation that needed to be perfected. It quickly began to assimilate new life forms, creating the Borg. Voyager would eventually arrive at Earth, causing the events of Star Trek the Motion Picture, but its Borg legacy would live on, even after it disappeared. Don't like that origin at all? I mean, it doesn't really make sense given that Voyager didn't try to assimilate Earth in the motion picture. It just kinda slowly moved in one direction and whined about not getting its way to Captain Kirk. But that's okay, because there's an even better origin found in the graphic novel called Star Trek the Manga. Not exactly the most creative title ever, but go with it. Here, the Borg are a nanotechnology experiment gone wrong. An alien species attempted to treat an incurable disease with its new nanomachines at their testing facility near a black hole, which just sounds like a bad place to have a testing facility. The black hole causes the facility to deteriorate, forcing the nanomachines to fuse with their patients. The USS Enterprise under Captain Kirk arrives just in time to save the remaining patients from the facility, just as it falls into the black hole, sending it back in time and to the Delta Quadrant. Man, every story involves time travel to the Delta Quadrant. The nanotechnology fuses with a young girl to create the Borg Queen, thus creating the now infamous Borg Collective. Okay, so is that story a bit trite? I mean, who builds a facility near a black hole? But that's okay, because the final Borg origin comes in what may be the best Star Trek story ever told. The book trilogy called Star Trek Destiny by David Mack. Back in the 22nd century, the NX-01 Enterprise's sister ship, the Columbia, is attacked by Romulans, crippling the ship. The Columbia and Captain Hernandez take shelter at a nearby planet inhabited by a secretive species called the Kaliar, who refuse to allow Columbia's crew to leave. Every member of the advanced Kaliar is near immortal, and all join the species' hive mind called the Gestalt. The Columbia arrived just as the Kaliar finish an attempt to contact the galaxy's first sentient species. Unfortunately, the Kaliar experiment causes their sun to go nova, wiping out the Kaliar's planet and sending the Columbia, along with the Kaliar, back in time to the Delta Quadrant. I think you can see where this is going. With only a handful left, the Kaliar sacrifice themselves to survive, and the last one demands the humans join their Gestalt. Captain Hernandez refuses, and the Kaliar attempt to force the humans to join, turning them into the first Borg drones. So the first Borg were actually humans all along. Eventually, in the 24th century, the Borg invade the Federation, completely decimating the entire Alpha Quadrant. But at the last moment, the USS Enterprise under Picard find the Kaliar's old home planet and a few surviving Kaliar. The Kaliar learn of the Borg's origin and decide to absorb the entire Borg collective back into themselves, putting an end to the Borg's reign of terror for good. Too bad that ending isn't canon anymore after Star Trek Picard. But alas, you know what they say.
Resistance is futile.